Knit dishcloths are one of my favorite mindless projects. Sometimes you just need a quick win. That hasn't always been the case though. The first dishcloth that I ever knit turned out terribly lopsided. The first half of the dishcloth wasn't so bad, but that second half was a hot mess. I made dozens more thinking that it would just get better over time, and that was not the case. That is where my journey to create the perfect knit dishcloth that looks great right off of your needles began. The Easy Peasy Knit Dishcloth is perfect for first-time knitters or knitters who are just tired of wonky dishcloths. Let's talk about the materials that you will need to make your Easy Peasy Knit Dishcloth. Grab some of your favorite cotton yarn. I really love the Queensland collection, the coastal cotton. This colorway is Mermaid Beach. This colorway is Surfer's Paradise. This is a newer cotton to me and I have really enjoyed it. Dishy cotton is another one of my go-to cottons for dishcloths. You will also need a pair of knitting needles. In the video tutorial, I am using a US 8 5mm set of straight needles. Straight needles make knitting dishcloths so much easier for me, but if you have a pair of circular knitting needles, you can jump in and get started with these. I made my first dozen or so knit dishcloths with circular knitting needles because that is all that I had on hand, and I am a firm believer in just getting started with what you have, and then if it becomes a thing, I'll invest in more tools later on down the line, and that has worked really well for me. So if you don't have a set of straight needles, you can use some circular knitting needles. You will also want to have a pair of scissors handy for when you bind off. Another great handy tool for when we bind off is a 5mm crochet hook. The tutorial for this Easy Peasy knit dishcloth is super basic. And the reason why I did that is because when I am learning something new, I need just enough information to be dangerous enough to get started, get through my project, and to finish it. If I have too many details or too many terms that I don't understand, it will overwhelm me, and usually I won't get started, or if I get started, I'm not going to finish the project. So with this tutorial, I went with what works for me. So if you are a brand new knitter, I just want to encourage you to give it a try and don't get overwhelmed, just have fun with it. Let's dive in so you can get started on your very own Easy Peasy knit dishcloth. Don't forget to tag me on Instagram or Facebook so I can see your Easy Peasy knit dishcloth. You will start out by making a slip knot, and you can use whatever method for making a slip knot that you like. For this tutorial, I am going to go with my trusted slip knot that I make whenever I'm crocheting. Leave about a 6-inch tail or longer and make a slip knot. Now you will cast on 3 stitches, and we are going to use the long tail cast on method. With your working yarn to the back and your yarn tail to the front, we are going to set up for the long tail cast on. I have my index finger and my thumb like I'm going to pinch something. Grab the working yarn like that, then come around here and grab your yarn tail like this. And you're just going to kind of make a triangle here with the base of your triangle being your hand. Let me show you that again. Grab your working yarn and your yarn tail and make a triangle. It may help to use this index finger to secure the loop already on your needle. And there we have our triangle. And now we're going to cast on Our slip knot counts as the first stitch, so we're only going to cast on 2 stitches. We are going to do a thumbs up here, just like that. You're just going to kick it back. Twist your hand just a little bit here, just like that. And now we're going to take our needle and we're going to come on this side of the yarn here. And we're going to grab that yarn and we're going to come over the yarn right there in the front, okay? Then you're going to grab some working yarn and you're going to go past that working yarn and grab it. Then you're going to come through right there between those 2 loops. And that is how you do a long tail cast on. Let me show you that again. Working yarn is in the back. Grab that yarn tail and get set up and kick it back, just like that. Now we're going to grab this yarn here. We're going to go over that yarn there. We're going to grab our working yarn and then we're going to go in between those 2 yarns there, just like that. I'm going to show you how to do this one more time and then we'll get started. Now you will turn your work and we want to just tidy things up here. We want to just leave our yarn tail hanging out over here. Grab your working yarn and your needle. See how we have the bumps right here? We want to make sure the bumps are at the bottom of our work. And if you turn it around and look here, here is where our working yarn is. We want to make sure it's not wrapped around your needle or anything like that. We want to make sure the working yarn is on the bottom and your yarn tail is just kind of hanging out here. To knit your first stitch, you're just going to come right here at the base of this loop, insert your needle, and you see you're coming out the back here. You're going to yarn over, and then you're going to come through right here, just like that. And now you'll just slide it off the needle. And that is your first stitch. Repeat that for the next 2 stitches. Come right here at the base of this loop. Go through the back here. Yarn over. And pull it through right there. And then slide it off your needle. Just like that. And there you go. You just knit your first row. So turn your work and get set up again. See how I just kind of flipped all my stitches around there? Just rotate them back down there. Make sure your yarn tail is still hanging out here. One of the things that I struggled with as a beginner is I would want to pick up this tail and knit with it. So just make sure everything is nice and tidy. And you've got your working yarn coming from the bottom and the back of your work. Now we're going to work an increase. Knit the first stitch. Now we are going to knit in the front loop and in the back loop here. And that will result in making this 1 stitch into 2 stitches. Let me show you how to do that. You're going to knit like normal, yarn over, pull it through, but you're not going to slide it off of your needle yet. Instead, we are going to do something really fun. Whip this needle around and work through the back loop. Just slowly move that needle to the back of your work. Find your loop there, right there. You're going to insert your needle right there in the back of the loop. and you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull it through the back just like that. See how we have 2 stitches on our needle now? Now you can slide it off. And now knit the last stitch. You have 4 stitches on your needle, and turn your work. Get everything nice and tidy again. Now we are going to start the increase rows that we are going to use for the first half of the pattern. Knit the first stitch, knit the second stitch. Now for the increase stitch, you're going to yarn under. Normally we yarn over, which means our yarn is going over our needle. But for this increase, we are going to yarn under. So our needle is going to go under our yarn, and that creates a loop. Knit the next stitch, and knit the next stitch. You have 5 stitches on your needle. Turn your work. The row that we just worked is going to be the row that you're going to repeat until you have 48 total stitches on your needle. Let me show you how to work that row again. You're going to knit the first 2 stitches, work an increase stitch, and you're going to yarn under, knit the next stitch, and see how this one looks different from the other stitches? This is our yarn under from the previous row. And you're just going to knit that like it's a normal stitch. It may be a little bit tighter than your normal stitch. Just go into the base of the stitch and yarn over, just like that. And knit the rest of the stitches like normal. Turn your work and just keep repeating that row. Knit the first 2 stitches, yarn under, knit the remaining stitches in the row. And just keep repeating that. I am going to make a small swatch so I can show you the rest of the pattern. But we're going to continue to work some increases until my swatch gets a little bit bigger. Yarn under, and then knit the rest of the stitches. The increase stitch from the previous row can sometimes look a little weird. I will just kind of shift it a little bit so I can work at the base of that stitch. And it can be a little tricky. You may just have to wiggle your needle a bit to work into that stitch. Keep working the increase row by knitting the first 2 stitches, yarning under, and then knitting the rest of the stitches in that row. And I will meet you back when you have 48 stitches on your needle. All right, you should have 48 stitches on your needle. So now we are going to start decreasing, so we will have a square dishcloth. But first, we are going to have some setup rows. Knit the first 3 stitches. Now we are going to turn our work. Just like that. Now we want to get our working yarn back behind our needle. So just make sure your working yarn is coming out of the back of your work here. And we're going to knit these 3 stitches. And turn our work. Now you will knit this entire row. We're not going to do anything fancy, no increases, no decreases. We're just going to knit all of these stitches. So just keep knitting each stitch in this row and then turn your work, and I will meet you at that point. Knit the first 3 stitches again. And turn our work. Tidy everything up. Make sure the working yarn is coming from the bottom of our work here. Knit these 3 stitches. Now we will start our decrease rows. You're going to knit the first 2 stitches. Now you're going to slip the next stitch purlwise. Knitwise is when you come on this side of the stitch like we do when we're going to knit. Purlwise is when we come from this side of the stitch like we do when we're going to purl. But we're going to keep our yarn to the back. Slip it purlwise. You're just going to come on this side of the stitch and you're just going to slip it off that needle there. Now you will knit the next stitch. Now we are going to take this stitch right here that we slipped and we are going to take it over the stitch we just knit. It can be very scary the first time you do this, but I promise it gets easier. To slip this stitch over the stitch you just knit, you're going to take this needle over here and you're going to grab that slip stitch like that. It helps to have this index finger kind of holding this one in place so you don't accidentally slip this off your needle. We want this to stay on our needle. Grab that slip stitch there and bring it over that other stitch. See how I have this needle making sure that stitch stays on. I took that slip stitch and I brought it from here over this stitch and then off this needle. And then I just let it drop. That is how we decrease by 1 stitch. Let me show you that again. Here's our slip stitch. Here's the stitch we just knit. Grab that slip stitch, bring it over and off that needle, just like that. Now you will knit all of the stitches left in this row. So go ahead and knit all of those stitches, then turn your work, and I will show you the decrease row again. Let's work another decrease row. Knit the first 2 stitches. Slip the next stitch purlwise Go to the base of the loop on this side and just slip it off that needle. Knit the next stitch. Now we are going to take this slip stitch and we're going to come over this knit stitch and off of our needle, just like that. And then knit the rest of the stitches in your row. And that is the decrease row that you're going to repeat until you have 4 stitches left on your needle. Let me work the decrease row a few more times for you. Work the decrease row again. Knit the first 2 stitches. Slip the next stitch purlwise. Knit the next stitch. Now we're going to slip that stitch over the first stitch there. Just slip it right off that needle. And then knit the rest of the stitches in the row. Let me show you how to work the decrease row one more time. Knit the first 2 stitches. Slip the next stitch purlwise, just like that. Knit the next stitch and slip that slip stitch over the stitch you just knit, right off the needle, just like that. And then knit the rest of the stitches in the row. So just keep repeating that decrease row until you have 4 stitches left on your needle, and then I will show you what to do from there. You should have 4 stitches on your needle, and now we are going to finish this dishcloth. Knit the first stitch. Now we're going to work a decrease, so slip this stitch here purlwise, knit the next stitch, and take that slip stitch and pass it over the knit stitch and off that needle. Knit the last stitch in this row and turn your work. Now you should have 3 stitches on your needle. Knit all 3 of these stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Turn your work. Knit the first 2 stitches. Now take this first stitch that you knit and pass it over the stitch you just knit. Since we knit this stitch, it's going to be a little bit tighter than a slip stitch. So just kind of wiggle it around until you get it to do what you want it to do. And make sure this one doesn't slip off the needle. So this is how I do it. I kind of whip this needle around here and I pull it through there. And that keeps the stitch we want on this needle. And then you just drop the needle out of that stitch. So now we're down to 1 stitch over here. Knit the next stitch. And do the same thing. Take this stitch here, up and over this last stitch, and that is how you bind off. Keeping this loop on your needle, cut your yarn tail. I would leave at least a 6-inch yarn tail, if not longer. Now to finish your bind off, the easiest way for me is to grab a crochet hook and put it through that loop, and then just grab the yarn tail and pull it through that loop, and then just pull up and you are finished. Tighten everything up, and then you will weave in your ends, and you just finished your easy peasy knit dishcloth. I hope that you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time, happy yarning. Bye for now.